Hi, everyone. Good morning. Thank you so much for being with us today. There's been a lot of webinars in this space in the last few weeks, so we really, really appreciate your presence and you taking the time. Feel free, the chat is open, and as usual, I always start with figuring out where everyone is joining from. So if you want to share what state, what city you're in, I am currently in Sydney, Australia, and the weather is absolutely amazing. Really happy to see everyone. And yeah, just enjoying the morning. So we're probably going to start in about a minute or two, just giving everyone a chance to join this morning before we start going through the content. But I'm really, really excited to have amazing people on this call that you'll get to meet very shortly. So we've got people from Agile Insights, obviously, as you're seeing on the screen. We've got people from ESRI as well, sharing really cool demos later on. We also have one of our great customers from the Inner West Council. All right. Yeah, I can see there's some of the Inner West Council colleagues sending clap emojis. So thank you. Thanks, Stephen. Okay, great. So maybe we can get started already. So already 2 minutes in. Cool. So as mentioned, thank you so much for coming. So I'm going to introduce myself for those who don't know me yet. I'm Charlie Raymond. I'm the Cloud and AI Platform Specialist for local government across Australia. And I work really closely with a few engineers internally and with the rest of our team, who you probably know as Shaylee and Luca in Australia. Great. So we'll get started with an acknowledgement of country before we go into the actual content. So we would like to acknowledge the traditional owners and their custodianship of the lands on which we meet. We pay our respects to their ancestors and their descendants who continue cultural and spiritual connections to country. We recognize their valuable contributions to Australian and global society. Thank you so much, Kadu. And also, before we move on, I just want to acknowledge that we are currently recording the meeting. And so there will be, I think the recording will be made available to all the attendees after this call, right, Kadu? Just confirming. Yes, okay, perfect. So don't need to take screenshots and take notes. We will share with you the slides and the recording. So we can move on to the next slide. Okay, so obviously the context and the purpose of this call today is to share with you some use cases and some ways that you can leverage your data better using Fabric, TechOne, and ESRI all together. The reason why we're doing this is because working with local councils like you all, we have realized that you all have very similar challenges. And the four main challenges that we've seen and that we're trying to solve with you is, first of all, data silos. So I don't think there's going to be anyone surprised here to hear that you all have a huge amount of data. You have so many different departments and businesses working with libraries, with water and sewer for some of you. Others are managing your own stadiums, and you've got all the rates, the rubbish, the roads, and you've got so much data. And a lot of you don't really know where the data sits or what to do with it. And it comes from many different formats as well. There's also a lack of integration. So a lot of systems, data sets don't talk to each other. So it's really hard to get insights out of all of that. And the different businesses that I mentioned don't necessarily share the data together within the same council. The second challenge is data latency. So depending where you are and depending where your data sits, there can be quite a bit of delay in getting the data and the time it takes to process it and to clean it and to transfer it between platforms, which can impact the time to decision. And the third one we've got is data security and governance. So because there's so much lack of visibility between all the different silos and just the data that's coming through, it might be really hard to be able to secure the data and govern the data. So you've got limited oversight on the allocation access, and you have so much regulatory commitment around you, which can be a bit hard to manage as well. And finally, the last one, high barrier to entry. All of these new technologies, they require new skills, and it's really, really hard to find the right people with the right skills to manage that, especially if you're in a location that is a bit further from the capital cities. And the other thing is, it costs, there's some budget requirement to that, and you usually work with a financial year budget, so it might be hard to get these projects approved on time. All right. So how do we solve all of these challenges, and how can we help you just resolve them using the current technology that's available? So to do that, we're going to go through a few topics today. And Kadri, maybe you can go, sorry, you can go to the next slide. Thank you. So to help you solve these challenges, we're going to go through how you can, what is Fabric and how you can do the Fabric integration with ESRI and TechOne. Then we're also going to show you how you can do Fabric and agentic AI within Fabric through a live demo. We're also going to hear really exciting updates and news and product releases from ESRI in Microsoft Fabric. And finally, we'll do a panel discussion around the future of data in councils, and we're going to hear from Peter Bowen from the InnoWest Council around what they've done with Fabric and with TechOne. And I will pass it on to Kadu for the next topic.
Thank you so much, Charlie. Welcome, everyone. Again, we really appreciate you guys joining this webinar. We know how busy everyone is, and we really appreciate. Thanks, everyone, for joining. Today, we will talk a little bit more about how you can integrate Fabric with ESRI and TechOne. First of all, my name is Cadu Anastácio. I'm the practice manager at Agile Insights. Let's get into this. It's interesting to see, Charlie, the things you highlighted and the challenge you've seen across councils. We've seen similar challenges across our clients, and we would like to hear from you. That's why I'm sharing here a QR code. I'm kindly asking you to scan this QR code and provide some feedback. The entire idea here is for you to share with us what are the main challenges you see within your organization. There will be just one multiple choice question, so you can select the ones you believe that are most latent at the organization. But there will be also a kind of text box you can put other things if you can see in the options the points you'd like to highlight. Okay, so I'll jump to the next slide, and we'll hopefully see the result of the poll. It's probably loading. If it doesn't load this way, I'll probably need to share directly. Just give me one. I think it's not loading this way. I'll share in another way. Just give me. Oh, I can see some answers coming already. That's pretty good. Just give me 1 second. I'll share on the screen. Here we go. Great. Oops. Interesting to see manual processes. I think the top one is limited visibility for decision making. Really interesting. It's growing. Even fragmented data sources. Yes, I think the data silos conversation Charlie started. It's showing up here. Another big one, manual processes. Of course, we are talking about data here. Really interesting to see, feedback from you guys. And when we go to other challenges here, I think there is nothing you guys, okay, can see too here. Lack of experienced resource to integrate our data silos. Yes. Yeah, we can see the same. Data governance, data ownership, staff digital skills, low engagement. Yeah, great, really, really interesting to see all this. I will switch back to the other presentation. Just give me 1 second. Sorry about this comes and goes. Here we go. Done. Just confirming, can you guys see my screen? Yes, great. Thank you, and sorry for the comes and goes. The poll didn't work this way when presenting directly on Teams. Okay, so this slide will show us a North Star vision. So the idea here is what good looks like. What's the reference we want to see, and our clients want to see. From today, a situation where we have siloed systems, as Charlie mentioned, fragmented insights, and as you can see, we have lots of data sources. I put 6 here, but we know councils will have much more. There is a bit of difficulty, to merge data from different systems. When you need to integrate data, for example, from TechOne and from ESRI together, this becomes a challenge. Another one is duplication. So we normally see quite a lot, to be honest, data duplication, manual reporting. I think that's, not only across councils, but, many of our clients, face some similar issues. Inconsistent data and reactive decision making. I think that's the main point. At the end of the process, what's important here is informed decisions. So we want to bring you guys from a situation where you have siloed data to this situation where you have a single lake house, you have a single source of truth for your data, all your systems integrated with this platform, data flowing from the systems automatically into one lake. And then you have the gold. Data is gold. Gold is in your hand. So you can leverage, reporting, AI, large language models. You can put governance on top of it. Since your data is in a central location, it's much easier to govern, much easier to manage, and of course to consume. As an end result, informed decisions. I think that's the main point. And by the way, one of the main challenges we've heard from you guys on the poll. Going to the next slides, we have some examples. So since you have your data in a central location, it's there available for you to consume in its end format. You don't need to calculate things again. You don't have different business units, for example, showing different numbers. You can leverage all this data in this use cases we are bringing here. One of them is staff onboarding, offboarding. We've spoken with clients about using AI and agentic AI to automate onboarding, offboarding processes. We know this is a pain, and that's one of the use cases we've been exploring. Use the data platform to serve consul rates modeling tools. There are tools that are specialized in modeling rates and simulate scenarios. So what we've done is provide the data and support all these tools to perform their work. Another one is develop application optimization. So the DA, when someone needs to build or renovate new software, for example, they need to apply for a developed application. When they do so, the process is quite, heavy, and there are lots of different organizations involved, including councils. So if we work with the data and create automation, between the different entities and organizations, we'll have a much better result. Not only quality, but performance and etc. Assertivity. Asset management. So we've seen asset management done over maps and even using IoT data. So you can ingest IoT data from sensors, from assets, and then show this on a map. Automated compliance checks using unified data. So you can have data quality control, compliance checks being performed on top of your data in an automatic way, monitoring in place, notifications being sent to whatever people are responsible for this action points created from this kind of information. Automation of incident response with mapping. Again, here I think we are emphasizing the geospatial component. So we can see incident response on the map, understand where you have most cases happening. Another one we've been talking quite a lot with our clients is net zero reporting, since there's a lot of regulations coming and growing in terms of volume of data that needs to be reported. This is quite big too. And at the end, traffic flow. So you can see traffic flow impacts on the map and simulate some sort of scenarios. These are some of the use cases we've been talking to our clients. And with that said, let's jump into some demo. I will now share my other screen, and I'll show you guys a Fabric environment. This is a report, so I will start from the report. What is happening here, it's a Fabric environment where we ingested data from TechOne, and we have some mapping components to it. This first page is a report where we can see on the top here dynamically some different KPIs, head count, annual leave balance, and some different type of leave balances. As you can see, I can pick the measure I want to analyze, and the report automatically shows this measure across all divisions, including mappings here. I can even show how you can interact with the map, zoom, rotate, and do some really cool interactivity. But this is a Azure map. In the second page, I have a ESRI map here. Again, showing some information around time in lieu. So we have time in lieu accrued per age tenure and across the time, how this is happening. But also, we can see this information on the map. I will expand this map here, and let's start playing with it. So as you can see, we can start straight away see the LGAs plotted on the map. I can expand this side panel here and, for example, click on any of the LGAs. Let's pick one here in New South Wales, and then we can see data, being displayed on the right-hand side. Here is data coming directly from ESRI. This data is not sitting in our Fabric platform. So what's the point here? It's not only mapping. You can use the data coming from ESRI, and you can do more. You can link the data you have in your platform with the data you have from ESRI. I'll show one example. When I go to this button here, I can see layers on the map. As you can see, I have two layers here, which are exactly the same. I'm talking about ABS population by LGA. When displaying this top one, when displaying this bottom one, I can see all LGAs, across Australia. But as you can see, these dots here are my data, time in lieu volume. And then this layer here shows all LGAs, but I can show the other layer, which only displays the LGAs where I have data, the same location. How we do this? You can simply configure your layer and link the ESRI world, the layer I'm using here, with my data. Here I pick, from my data, what's the link between, the ESRI data and my data. So this way, the map automatically will show just the LGAs, where I have some data displayed. It's pretty cool. You can extend this to many use cases, and I can, imagine here you guys are thinking about, your day-to-day, your reality. It's pretty cool. It's a pretty cool feature. With that, I'll just show you guys quickly the platform and the data. So this is some of the data we brought into this demo environment. We have some dimension tables, and we have a fact table. This is all coming from TechOne, but of course, this is our final layer, our final transformed data with all business rules applied. And this has been done in a quite easy way because we've done this across many clients and we have all the patterns available. Okay, with that said, I'll jump back to the slides. And actually, Simon, if you want to even straight away share your screen. I have here with me Simon from ESRI. I'll let Simon introduce himself. He will share some cool stuff with us. Simon, the floor is yours.
Thanks, Kadu, and good morning, everyone. My name's Simon. I work at ESRI Australia. I'm based down in the Melbourne office. And we're ESRI Australia. We build what's called ArcGIS. This is our enterprise geospatial or geographical information system. It supports a wide range of industries here in Australia, as well as many local governments. I think last time I looked, we were just shy of serving 70% of the population is being served by a council that uses ArcGIS. And we've had an alliance with Microsoft for since 1987. And as a result of that partnership, the both product teams have kind of come together and created a variety of different integrations between the products. And this slide tries to summarize some of those key ones. I've seen some councils using the Excel product and the ArcGIS plugin for Excel to bring maps into their spreadsheets, but also to connect to their geographical information system, to geocode and enrich their customer data before pushing it into another business system. In the middle, I've seen customers in the local government sector using the ArcGIS connector for Power Automate to ingest data from different business systems and synchronize it into the GIS, but also to synchronize forecast data from the Bureau of Met and ingest it, process it, and push it into work order systems as well. But today I'm just going to focus on the top right, which is looking at ArcGIS for Microsoft Fabric. That survey I found really interesting, and it kind of lines up to the trends that we see as well. We see the GIS team and the data science teams typically operating in silos. It's not actually so bad in local governments. It's more kind of in some of the other sectors in Australia. In GIS, the GIS professionals that support GIS, we focus on maintaining that spatial data and looking at where things happen, where the data science team focus on the modeling and the why and the how. And as you've already mentioned, like this can result in duplicating data, which then leads to that fragmented understanding, or as you said in the survey, a limited visibility for decision makers if people aren't accessing all of that latest data from the right systems. So today I'd like to talk about how ESRI has been working with Microsoft to help close this gap by bringing spatial capabilities into one environment, and that's Microsoft Fabric. The where and the why become a single conversation so that teams can collaborate on a single platform that supports both geospatial and data science workflows. Now, our free integration points with Fabric include our geoanalytics piece. This brings a range of spatial support and additional spatial tools and functions that are used within Synapse notebooks, as well as data factory pipelines. There's also our Power BI story, which has an ArcGIS visualization, and this allows you to create interactive mapping reports that kind of surface that information from Fabric to the stakeholders within our business. And then we've also got a more rich interactive mapping tool that will sit in Fabric. This is going to be released at Ignite conference, which is a couple of weeks away. That'll be made available into public preview in a couple of weeks. And this is really a really rich mapping and browser-based visualization, but also has a range of browser-based analytical tools that kind of for a user that might not be wanting to use a notebook, for instance. Now, using that, what seems to be quite a popular data architecture now, that medallion architecture, ArcGIS technology that's in Fabric supports this entire data journey. So at that bronze layer, we can access the data where that single source of truth lies. Basically, anything that Fabric can connect to, including its OneLake, is also accessible to ArcGIS. And then we can spatially enable that data. So in the middle step, this is really where I find the fun stuff happens. This is where you get to do the processing, the cleaning, the analytics on that data to then surface it to the gold layer, creating those high-value data products that can be fed upstream to reporting tools such as Power BI. Now, we've brought essentially our same spatial tools that GIS professionals like myself use in a desktop environment. We've wrapped those up, put them into a Spark native tool, and made them available within the Fabric environment. This extends Fabric to include support for an ESRI geometry type. The library is natively integrated into Fabric. There's nothing to install. You can literally just talk to your Fabric administrator, and this can be turned on at the tenant level, and it's ready to roll out to your users to start using in Synapse notebooks. And I mentioned Spark Native, and I understand that there's a tech audience here that probably knows a lot more than me about Spark architecture. But for me as a GIS professional, what this really means is you can take advantage of that distributed computing of the Fabric Spark environment, and problems that might have taken me days or even weeks to run in a traditional GIS environment can be ramped up and can be solved in a matter of hours. Now, it includes over 200 spatial functions and tools that do far more than just simple aggregations. So this is, whilst it can do things like hex bin maps and aggregations and heat maps, it has much more sophisticated tools. So I've seen a public safety agency use it to clean up their vehicle positioning data and snapping GPS data to a bunch of road networks that they had. I've seen people use it to generate, in the telco sector, generate time-stepped hotspot maps of the wireless network to understand where there's strain on that network. But then in a local government sense, using it to look at human movement data and calculating, well, where is their activity changing over time in your local government area, or running larger models to do site selection, but using more higher volume inputs to calculate anything from, previously things like vaccination centres, but through to basketball courts, election centres, and so forth. These functions can leverage data from within OneLake and Fabric, as well as the data sources the Fabric connects to, as well as the ArcGIS environment as well. And this includes being able to read and write back into OneLake and ArcGIS as well. In this environment, in this example, we've got some flood extent information that's being updated twice a day and being persisted into our Azure environment in this case. And what we want to do is loop through a series of asset layers that are important to us to understand, well, what is the actual damage that might be to our assets from this flood extent information, so we can quantify the potential damage. Now, in this example, we can connect to the Australian Bureau of Statistics and get their LGA boundary layer and allow the user of this notebook to pick a particular LGA. So in this case, Richmond Tweed area. This then uses that, grabs the geometry from the ABS and uses it to filter this statewide flood data set down to just the area of interest that we care about. And then from here, it starts to loop through each of those layers of information that we care about. Again, getting these from the source of truth, in this case, getting them from your own GIS system, and then also maybe tying that in with data from your TechOne asset management system, bringing it all together. In this example, just to work out, well, what is the number of address points for each of the buildings? What is the flood depth that's against those buildings? What is the length of road network? Surfacing that so that it can be consumed by applications like Power BI and other visualization products that you might use to report upon within the business. These tools can also be used more broadly across the Fabric platform. So that was kind of a bit of an interactive notebook just to kind of really show the concepts, but they can be productionized to be scheduled. So every time those flood extents change, have a data pipeline run to re-trigger that process so that the reports are always showing the latest up-to-date information. And I've seen similar workflows done for other types of events. So during Alfred, connecting to the Bureau of Met, getting those cyclone tracks and trying to work out, okay, this cyclone track's coming in, what are our policyholders or assets or whatever information is in those to try and look at triaging those types of requests that are coming in. Power BI ships with the ArcGIS Maps component. Again, no additional installation required here. As data is processed through that medallion architecture, Power BI can sit at the other end waiting to pick up those outputs, and this Maps component allows you to provide a richer way to visualize and interact with those outputs to support, again, those decision makers at the other end. We've got a lot of organizations using this component. From talking to them, some of the main use cases involve Power BI is very good at pulling in information from various parts of the business, and then also being able to pull data from the ArcGIS system into that as well. What seems like a simple one, but it comes up a lot, is just having access to higher detailed base maps. So near maps or the state base map, or maybe you've got your own imagery capture program or your own base maps, being able to have that as the backdrop to your business data. And also just richer mapping than just dots on a map, being able to do advanced symbology, clustering, heat mapping, and looking at data changing over time. And as Kadu mentioned earlier, being able to access some of that ABS data and the bundled demographics data to then cross-compare it with your own business data to understand the populations that might be impacted in those cyclone areas or flood areas. This is just an example dashboard from Before You Dig Australia. Like a lot of Power BI visualizations, as you interact with the Power BI map visualization, other visualizations will filter and drill down as you'd expect. But also with our visualization, you can connect to other layers of information here, getting the utility layer from Geoscience Australia and bringing it into this map so we can see and even find out which inquiries are within a distance of those utility lines. This one is a utility company using it for work order planning. They use it for medium and long-term planning to kind of group up work orders of a similar type. But in this instance, post-work order, looking at what was the estimated cost versus the actual cost and where are blowouts happening, and is there a geographical pattern to why that might actually be happening. Later this month, there'll be a Maps for Fabric component rolled out as public preview. This is a full-fledged interactive mapping component, and it will allow a Fabric user the ability to easily mash up data from OneLake as well as ArcGIS into this single mapping component. It'll include a variety of mapping and visualization capabilities. It'll be provided to every Fabric user, and those that are using ArcGIS can also get additional capability by using their ArcGIS user type as well. Quick preview. Here, a user has added a data layer directly from OneLake. So this isn't coming from ArcGIS, it's not coming from a GIS, it's coming from OneLake, added into the map component. As the data changes in OneLake, the table of data will also change and be reflected in the symbology that's chosen here in the map component. The user has a wide range of smart mapping capabilities, which allows you to sort of filter the data down or slice and dice it to the type of data you want to see. Again, using that clustering technique or a chart symbol. And again, what's not shown here, but a lot of analytical tools to sort of process the data and create new outputs that can go back into OneLake as well. And more importantly, actually, is being able to save these maps and share them within the Microsoft Fabric ecosystem and the Microsoft Access Control model, being able to do all of that, within that environment to help sort of speed up that collaboration. I've just realized I've shared this presentation in the wrong way, but these links we'll send around with the recording. These just kind of give you a bit of a head start on some self-paced learning, how to get started, a forum, some other webinars that we've done with Microsoft in the past. And I've also put my contact details at the bottom there. Feel free to reach out to myself for a deeper dive session on how ArcGIS and Fabric could be used for a council. Pass back to you, Kadu.
Thank you so much, Simon. That's really great to see. Thank you again. Now we'll jump into Jean's presentation. So Jean will talk a little bit about how agentic AI can help with this scenario. Jean, the floor is yours. I believe your camera is off.
Can you see me okay?
Camera on, sorry.
Okay, cool.
All good, yeah, thank you.
All right, thank you, Kadu. Thank you, Simon. There was a lot of exciting way of dealing with data and surfacing the insights from those data. That was amazing. Now, hopefully in the next section, I'm going to show you how we can bring AI agents into your data and start interacting with the data, get things done on your behalf. Before that, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jishin, or I'm more commonly known as Jin, like gin and tonic. Okay, please tell me when you can see my screens.
All good.
Perfect. Alrighty, here at Agile Insights, we have created this SaaS platform called Agile Agents, which is designed to simplify creating the AI agent, the digital being that gets things done on your behalf, deploying them, managing them, and safeguarding them. Now, when it comes to AI agents, there are three important components. The most important part, as you've guessed correctly, is the brain. The brain that can interact with user, understand the instruction, and get things done, and respond up to users in a natural, engaging ways. Now, in the Agile Agent, you are allowed to bring your own models wherever they are. Some might source locally, others may be sourced from overseas, and you can choose to bring in different models to suit the type of task that you're trying to do. Secondly, we need to give the agent not just the brain, but also the knowledge to know what it's supposed to do, how it needs to behave, and some contextual information to help you understand how certain tasks need to be done. Like, for instance, in this demo, I've got a bunch of resumes. So in case if I need to deal with an HR, job openings, interview type of task, I can give all the job resumes, job openings to the agent and ask it to give me the best match recommendations. And thirdly, you need to get AI agents to do things for you, which in this case, I have prepared a Fabric data connection tools, which will allow the AI agent to tap into your Fabric data, the golden data set that's ready to be consumed, and then start asking questions, process those data, and even write it back, the insights or the process data back to your Fabric. In the Agile agents, we have a couple of ways to simply define how to use external tools or how to integrate within existing tools. The obvious one is to integrate with an existing API via Open API standard. If you have one already running, which I think is most of the case with existing customers. The second being, you can write your own self-hosted functions to do a rather complex or kind of bespoke task at your own desire. More recently, we've added support for MCP, which is now becoming the industry standard for AI agent to know how to deal with an existing tools and being able to leverage it to get things done. Now, for this demo, we have created a Python-based custom tools connected to the Fabric. And with that Fabric data created, I can start asking questions like, give me all the employees whose age is 60, for example. It's just a dummy data made for demonstration purpose only. Yep. I've got one that's already set up here, which confirms that I can access the Fabric and get the data at the data that is required for performing my analysis. Now, once the knowledge, the brain, the tools are there, creating an agent is 1, 2, 3. Here I have pre-created a Fabric Workforce HR Data Analyzer agent. Just give it some random name. Define the instructions so that the agent knows what they should do, how they should behave, the type of data they're going to interact with, and some guardrails to specify things, explicitly call out things that they shouldn't be doing or they should be avoid doing, and give it access to the tools, the skills necessary to perform its job, and that's done. Simple as 1, 2, 3. I have got the Fabric Workforce Data Analyzer agent already published and running, and let's take a look at how we can interact with it. Now, I'm obviously dealing with Fabric data, so firstly, I'd like to ask them questions to better understand my data without me even writing a single line of code. For those of you coming from data science background, this is the EDA part, exploratory data analysis part. I just simply asked it question, that the agent went into the Fabric, fetched the required data, and try to answer my question in a graphical ways. Right? So this is me asking the distribution of the tenure range. Now let's look at whether there is some correlation between gender and unconsumed annual leave balance. I just wanted to understand at the high level, how does female group and male compare to male group when it comes to the total number of annual leave still left unconsumed. Looks like female workers are definitely hard working in my sample data sets compared to the male groups. I can also ask it to do some simple dashboard creation. For instance, I wanted to know whether there's a correlation between the salary range and the job type or role position, or in this case, I'm asking, give me the distribution of my employees based on their leave range that's left, so on and so forth. You can ask the agent, tap into your data, get things done on your behalf, not just analyzing data, surfacing the insights. You can also when you give it sufficient skills and permission, you can also start doing things like creating a subset of the data, process your data, create dashboard, send the email with pre-formatted reporting style, containing some of the key insights that you wanted to generate, and then distribute to your distribution list, so on and so forth. When the agents are ready, we can also easily publish it as part of the agent fleet features. Now here you see in the Fabric Workforce Analyzer, which I just created for this demo, and I can set it to deploy, which will create a secure environment for you to host the agent and also create an endpoint API keys for you to use to integrate this agent with your other applications or systems or workflows or whatnot securely. Now, whether it is a single agent or in some cases multi-agent working collectively to get certain tasks done, the agent fleet will allow you to do that with a few click of buttons. Okay, that is a very simple demo showing you how to bring the AI agent power and on top of your Fabric, bring the best of the both worlds. Back to you, Kadu. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Gene. Yeah, it's amazing to see, like the cherry on the top of the cake, isn't it? How AI agents can do all of this for us. Not only, like simple tasks like, we ask, copilots and the likes, but also, I don't know if you guys have this vision, but we have a fleet of agents. Each agent will be specialized in a certain task, which can be more creative or can be more technical or can be, specialized in law, understanding, or this is really amazing. And it will do a much better job than a single agent. A single agent can't be specialized in all these things. And as more as we ask to one agent, it will do, not a better job for sure. I'll now share my screen back so we can continue. If you can please share some thumbs up to indicate if you can see my screen. Yes, all good. So what we'll do next is, this is another demo. As you can see, this is the Power BI Copilot. I've asked the Power BI Copilot to build a report for me. As you can see, it built a report on the fly. When I click on keep it, it shows the visuals, and then we've asked the question about this data. What are the main drivers for repeated customer visits, for example? And as you can see, the agent not only responded to the question, but generated a new page of report. Not only static report, but interactive report. I can click on options and explore the data, the response the agent provided. This is really cool, really amazing. How much time it would need to, create an output like this. Now it's created in seconds. That's really amazing and shows, the power of AI. But of course, we need to have the right data to have the right outcomes when it comes to AI. So that's why it's important, integrating systems in the right way. And that's why I'll now go to another slide, actually 3 slides, to talk about, a little bit of how to do this, how we get there. This is a reference architecture. I tried to, balance here between technical and non-technical, but on the top, you can see Purview. So we essentially use Purview for data governance, data loss prevention, data policies, and the likes. You can create your catalog, showcasing your data, to the entire organization or any external consumer. People can essentially find whatever they want to, consume. For example, I can ask a question to Purview saying, where is my total revenue information located? And it will tell me, okay, this is the table where this information is. So people can more easily, find the data and consume the data if they have access to. If they don't have access to, they can request access, via Purview, and this triggers a workflow. And when the access is provided, the person will be able to browse the data. So the entire idea here, when we focus on Purview for data governance, is visibility. People can find the data easily. People can explore the data, understand what's in there, and then consume it properly. But we also have for the data team, or even for the business team, things like lineage, so we can see, where the information comes from. So this, metric here, head count, we can easily see, it comes from TechOne, from this module, from this table. So you can see the entire flow of the data across, all layers to the final data I'm trying to consume. And this is possible because we create this medallion architecture, which is essentially data quality based layers, bronze, silver, gold. What this means is bronze is source data as it is. Silver is where we start putting our business terms, we start transforming the data in a way that will be more business driven. We calculate KPIs and we do aggregations and things like this. And then we move to gold layer, which is the final data, the consumable data, where business users will only see this gold layer. They won't see the entire flow. And the gold layer will be organized in a way that's easy to consume. We usually suggest here star schema, which is a fact table surrounded by dimensions, so it's easy to consume. You can see one fact table. All dimensions will be connected to this single fact table, so anyone can drag and drop whatever tables or objects they want to consume and start playing with the data. And down below here we have one lake, actually in the middle, which is the single place we store all data. And this is not only data, but it also stores the resources you have within your Fabric environment. For example, the notebooks, the pipelines, you create data flows, experiments. It's all stored in one lake and governed centrally. Remember, one lake is one per tenancy. I think the name is clear, one lake. So that's why it's easier to govern. It's a single location, no more silos. So we have the data in a single place. Then we have on the bottom, like the more data and AI platform operation components, where we have functionalities to ingest data, to transform data, do data quality checks and actions. We can have reference data, for example, mappings. If you want to reclassify, some sort of classification coming from source systems, you can use reference data for this purpose. And we do master data management, data analysis, and the likes. And of course, we implement AI models to enrich the data. With that said, let's jump next to possibilities to integrate TechOne. We've integrated multiple clients, that are using this platform as a system. And there are two patterns we've used. The first one, as you can see on the left-hand side, is a more decoupled pattern. And what decoupled means is the data is exported automatically from TechOne, is pushed into a landing location. I'm talking about this blue icon here. And then it's ingested to one lake. As soon as TechOne pushes the data into a landing location, we can create an ingestion that's event-based. What this means is, as soon as the file lands, we ingest. So your raw data, your bronze layer, will have data flowing directly from source systems. As the data flows and it's pushed, it will be automatically ingested and it will be available in the bronze layer. And then we process this data and do all transformations we need. It's decoupled because the data lands and then Fabric takes action and ingests. But if you look at the right-hand side, that's different. It's tightly connected. So we have here Fabric talking to TechOne directly. So Fabric, essentially, we can use data factory pipelines, we can use notebooks, data flow gen 2, so many different ways to ingest from TechOne. But the difference here is a pool. Fabric will talk to TechOne and will pull the data into the platform. What is better? It depends. Even choosing between these tools, data factory, notebooks, or data flow gen 2, it always depends on the use case. It always depends on the concerns you have in terms of security. If, for example, you don't want Fabric accessing TechOne directly, but the data is pushed, so this way we won't have, the platform won't have visibility on all TechOne's data, you could use the decoupled architecture. And if you don't have any problems with, Fabric accessing TechOne directly, we can use the more coupled situation. So next, we'll talk about the integration between ESRI and Fabric. We have three ways, as Simon mentioned, and this is just to reinforce what he said. We have three different ways we can integrate ESRI and Fabric. One is data. So we can ingest data from ESRI as any source. We can have ESRI as one of the sources and ingest data, for example, LGA data, information about rivers, different levels, so we can project, how a flood will affect certain, assets from my council. And this will be essentially part of your process, part of your calculations. Your KPIs can use this data as part of the logic, the calculation logic. In the middle one, it's different. We're talking about maps in Power BI. So you can display ESRI maps in Power BI. As I showed you guys, you can use the layers. I haven't showed the base maps as Simon mentioned, but it is possible you pick from different base maps, and there are public base maps, and you can create your own base maps. That's the point. So councils can have their own base maps with assets, with facilities and things that will be easier for the staff to visualize. And here, again, as I showed, you can link both worlds. You can show only ESRI data where you find the corresponding information in your data platform, so you don't have, pollution, too much data to be analyzed, and you focus on what really matters. And the last option is the geoanalytics. To be clear here, this is public preview. Information we've got very, very high level here. The idea is by the end of this year, it will be available, GA, generally available. And this is essentially a set of functions you can use in your code. So let's say you have notebooks calculating things. You can use functions and pre-calculation methods and things like this from ESRI directly and apply these calculations on top of your data. So we will be reading from one lake, applying these calculations, and then writing back to one lake. This way, the next step would be visualize this information on the map, and we go back to the option in the middle. Okay, these are the three options we have available, and how we can take geoanalytics to the next level using ESRI. Okay, now let's talk about some real-world stories. We have three use cases we brought today. One of them is the DPHI. We call them, very nicely as DPHI, the Department of Planning, Housing and Infrastructure of New South Wales. It's one of our main clients. We've done a number of projects for DPHI, including some migrations into Fabric. We are right now migrating, for example, the data platform that runs behind the New South Wales Planning Portal. This is being, as we speak, migrated from SQL Server plus Data Factory kind of tool set now into Fabric. So Fabric is dealing with really mission critical workloads like this, the planning portal. You guys know what I'm talking about. You interact with this process quite a lot. And this entire platform that runs behind the scenes is being migrated into Fabric. The challenges, I think, are similar to what we've been discussed, siloed data, manual processes, compliance pressures, and then we now have, a single platform, all data combined and easy to be consumed. The next case study is the city of Logan. So here it's a bit different because we focus a little bit more on the AI side. So we created a clear roadmap for AI adoption. They had, a struggle to define where the council should go to in terms of AI and all the, privacy concerns. And then we created a platform for them with one of our accelerators called AI1 and deployed. So now they have an agent, a large language model, talking to their data, and they can ask questions in natural language, as I demonstrated, as Jean demonstrated too, which is really cool. The third one is another local regional New South Wales council. We are keeping the name of this one behind the scenes. But they faced similar issues, inefficient, complex data pipelines. In this case, we migrated them into a data platform, and then created all the data modeling, and the data is in a much better state right now, easier to consume, and the platform is established in a quite nice way. Okay, but how we get there? I imagine you guys are asking this question, okay, what's the next step for me? That's what we normally propose to clients. 5-step, or 5 phases approach, where first we do an assessment and strategy. So we understand your environment, we understand your main challenge, what we are trying to achieve, and we propose not only a North Star, as I mentioned before, like that's where you should go to, and you should, take as a vision for the future. But we also share a migration plan with all the phases, everything the client needs to do to get there. With that, we go to architecture and design phase, where we get into the details. We talk about the sources and put a lot more, details on this plan. And we go for architecture endorsement, for example, talk to cyber teams or infrastructure teams to get endorsement and be able to deploy the platform. Then we start the real fun. As someone who came from data engineering, when we talk about data ingestion transformation, I really get excited because this is my world. So we start, massaging the data, transforming source data into something that's, ready to be used, ready to be consumed. And that's it. It's simple and easy for the organization. As a 4th step, we take care of the governance and compliance. So before, sharing data with the broader organization, we take care of all the security mechanisms and all the security controls. But when there is purview in scope, for example, we can work with this tool to create, scans and catalog, and define, lineage, metadata, implement real ownership, stewardship, and things like this. And then when the platform is running, we measure, monitor, optimize, and prepare for scale. This roadmap, there are, several different ways we can tackle, a migration, but one we've mostly done is sort of an MVP concept. I'll go to the next slide to better explain this. This is an offer Agile Insights have been using a lot successfully with our clients. As you can see here on the left-hand side, we have first workshops. So we capture all the information and we plan not only North Star, but how to get there. And then we go for an MVP deployment. So imagine all that phases I showed in the previous slide. We essentially do all this for an MVP. We pick 1 or 2 data sources, we pick 1 or 2 reports, and we focus on implementing the entire platform with 1 or 2 use cases. And this is the concept of MVP deployment. And then we can go for phase 2 onwards and migrate the other workloads till we decommission the old platforms. I believe that's it. I just have one more slide. So sorry, I forgot about this one. And how Agile Insights can help, besides assessing, recommending, and taking our clients through this journey, we have also accelerators, making this experience in a much easier way, speeding up things, bringing standardization to your organization. So 2 of them we would like to highlight are Fabric Foundations. So this is imagine really your foundations, establishing medallion architecture, connecting your sources, having patterns to ingest from different source types. All of these we packed in a sort of accelerator called Fabric Foundations. which contains ETL framework. It orchestrates data ingestion, orchestrates data transformation. There is logging, there is monitoring in place, notifications, all these things. Simply, you don't need to reinvent the wheel. We essentially repeated the same kind of solutions across many clients, and we've implemented these accelerators as a form to, speed up our clients' journey into, Microsoft Fabric. And this has been proven, a really successful strategy for our clients mainly. Admin Governance Pack is another one which kind of extends a lot the administration and the governance of your Fabric environment. It's essentially a series of reports on top of a Fabric environment that reads, capacity utilization, will give you information about activities, who are visualizing reports or executing notebooks, how your capacity is being utilized by the different domains. So you can see, for example, finance, how much finance is consuming from your capacity, how much operations is consuming from your capacity. And then even in a scenario, of chargeback, you could potentially charge this cost back to the business units. And there are more other views to the admin governance pack, like best practices in terms of configurations. So we read all your configurations from the admin portal, and we tell you, if it's following best practices or not, what are the action points you should focus first, and this kind of things. I think that's all I would like to share today. Now we'll go to the panel. I would like to invite Charlie back, so she will.
Thank you so much, Kadu. Thank you, Kadu, Simon, and Jin for the great presentation and the live demos as well. Very surprising that none of the demos didn't work. So I think this is the most surprising part of today. Great. So I would love to invite Shri, Paul, and Peter on the call as well. So Shri is the Chief Partnership Officer at Agile Insights. She's also ex-Microsoft. Paul is one of our Azure sales leader within this segment. And Paul also used to be part of the sales team directly, working with water utilities. So this is directly relevant to councils. And we also have Peter Bowen, who is the CDO for NOS Council. Peter, if you wouldn't mind turning on your camera, or maybe you already have, but I can see. Oh, you have. Okay, great. Awesome, Kadu. I don't know if you can put everyone into spotlight, so we show up on the main screen for all. And maybe we can also remove the deck just so there's more space for the camera to show up. Okay, great. So my first question is for Peter. So Peter, for those who may not be necessarily familiar with the NOS Council, could you please share just a brief overview of the council and where you started on your Fabric journey and where you're at right now?
Sure. Thanks, Charlie. So NOS Council was formed from an amalgamation of 3 councils in 2016. So it was come together from Leichhardt, Ashfield, and Marrickville councils. I'm relatively new to council. I think it's 7 months. For my sins, I came out of DeFi, as I call it, DPHI, which you saw earlier. And the Fabric journey for us, I guess, started before I got here a little bit with a couple other members of the team here and the CIO. So we started that journey before I started here and looked at how we might be able to implement it, what it meant, where do we start, sort of threw up a few of those ideas. And I guess it took a little while to warm up, but we got there, we got going just as I started. And we did some proof of concepts that we got a little bit of interest in from the general manager, and that helped push us along a little bit faster and a little bit more directed. So from there, we then engaged with Agile and to help us build the platform, build Fabric up. And I guess at the moment, we've been looking at how we get data sources in. We're done some work around TechOne, which I'll talk about a little bit later. We're looking at how do we take in some other data sources, so APIs, rather than going to source, rather than having a step in the middle. But at the moment, we've got about 15, 16 dashboards that we're testing against the business units. So, making sure we've got the right data. We've done a skill uplift with the team so that the guys here can manage the pipelines, manage the data sources, the inputs. We've had to do a fair bit of understanding how Fabric works and hangs together in a West case. And everyone's probably a little bit different, and we have a lot of people here working Excel spreadsheets and bits of paper, and part of what we've been trying to do is make their job easier. We're not trying to change their job. So one of my principles that I'm sort of running with the business is we don't want to change what you do day to day. We just want to make it easier. And we see Fabric as one of those tools that we can have to smooth out some of the processing. Instead of taking days to do an Excel report, we can do it in live pretty much. So, there's a whole lot of stuff going on in the background, as well as building the technical side. It's a business engagement piece. It's getting leadership on board. So where we are today, in the long-winded answer, we've got stuff working in Fabric, which we'll show and test it against different business teams. We'll go back and remodel as we need to and tweak those reports. We'll automate more pipelines. We'll look for new data sources. And I've got a GIS background, so I'm super keen to see where we go with ESRI, but we'll talk about that later too. Sorry, I probably rambled a little bit, but that's where we are.
No, thank you. Thanks, Peter. And I think you're mentioning upskilling the staff, bring the business units in, and making sure that everyone is on board, change management and all of that. So that relates directly to my next question for Shri. So Shri, Agile Insight has helped Inner West Council, as Peter mentioned, in the Fabric deployment, but you've also helped several other public sector organizations like Logan that you shared before, DPHI and others. What would be the best practice that you are using to accelerate these projects without compromising on security and the data governance side?
Great question, Charlie, actually. So when we are delivering anything related to Fabric, there's a 3-part that we try to manage. So it's not only about acceleration governance, but it's also about enablement. So we call our delivery approach as accelerated, enabled, and governed delivery. And how we do that. So first of all, as Kadu was talking about, first is like the foundation. There's no one needs to write a Fabric foundation every time. So we have got foundations written because we are obviously working so much in the public sector. We have got foundations, Fabric foundations already written, which is aligned to all the public sector data strategy. So separate foundations based on like New South Wales government requirement. There's like Queensland government. So based on that, we have got foundations already written. So we use that to accelerate. Whenever we start any project, we always start with one training. So getting your team skilled up is the key thing. We do not like to deliver all the project ourselves. We like co-delivery model such that the team can get skilled up as well. Because once we've delivered, we want them to continue supporting this whole solution. So that's the whole idea of it. The next, obviously, when it talks about accelerator, the ELT framework, exactly. I'm saying ELT, the ETL framework, exactly, the meta-driven framework. That's another thing also that comes into the picture. Now, the key part that we always talk to every of our customers, not that everyone is like at the same place. Data governance is not that something that can come later. It starts along with their projects. But again, it always comes to the ROI as well, proving the value too. So that's where we align in the best practice. We share the best practices, but align with the business outcomes to show the value and the outcome and make it more of a repeatable pattern to bring in more data sources to get additional insights on top of that. So, and last but not the least is all about like having separate environments, proper RBAC and everything, and getting that scaling up as well on the security side is also critical. So those are the things that we do to make sure it's an accelerated, enabled, and governed deployment whenever we are doing.
Okay. Thank you so much. And your co-delivery model really resonates with most of the councils I speak to, because as you mentioned, you really need to be able to operationalize it once a project is delivered.
Yeah.
I've got another question for Peter. So everyone on this call probably has very similar challenges as you have when it comes to IT budget. So every dollar going toward IT obviously doesn't go directly toward the community. So how did you manage to convince the exec board that Fabric was critical for the NOS Council?
I'll credit Darren, the CIO, mostly for this. What he did is create some wireframes of here's what's possible, and showed it to the GM, and he got a little bit excited about what that meant for him, and him being able to see all of the data that he needs in one place, to a couple of dashboards, and he can get a snapshot of what's happening at council. He then said, go and do it, and we'll find the money to do that. So that's where we started the pilot project at. But there's also a willingness around the business, because they understand that what they're doing is not efficient for and how do they deliver what they have to deliver better. So they don't really want 2 days a month, 3 days a month to build an Excel spreadsheet and create a report, when they can be doing mowing the lawns or fixing a pothole or something else. So if we can make their job simpler, gives them more time to do the frontline services stuff. But also it'll give us some transparency back to the Inner West residents through dashboards to say, this is what we've done, and we can start being more transparent in some of our decision making, where we spend their money, so we can then start publishing dashboards publicly that people can see. And we have built trust through the dashboards, because Fabric gives us those governance pieces. So really it was getting in front of the leadership team, saying, we can make your life easier, we can put things in one place for you, and then working with the business to say, here's how we help. And that frees up people, money, resources to do more of the community facing roles. So it's, everyone's got to do reporting, and we report every 3 months. So if we can smooth that out and save council time, then everyone
So
wins.
you're spending money to save money and to add more visibility and trust into the data, more visibility internally, and then eventually to the public as well. Great. Paul, not gonna leave you hanging there.
Oh, thanks, Charlie. Bring me in.
So we've got over 150 councils in Australia who manage their own water and sewage. Most of them are New South Wales and Queensland. And as I mentioned before, your previous role was working with the water and sewer companies across Australia. Can you share a story of how Fabric has helped one of your customers in your previous role that could be relevant to the councils?
Yeah, I'll talk about one customer that we had an engagement with, and the engagement went down the line of helping them answer and address 2 key questions. And the first question was, we've invested and built this infrastructure, and what's the financial risk around that infrastructure or that asset, and what's the value of that asset? So that was that financial question. Also then led to, well, are we actually operating this asset in a really efficient and effective way? And then the third part of that internal question was, what's our regulatory requirements here? Are we meeting those? So that was question 1, grouped in those 3 areas. The other element was from a service perspective. No, it's a water service that's provided to their customers, and it's a service. So sometimes that service gets disrupted and it generates calls in. So what's their service obligation to their end customers? Are they doing the right things, and how are they reporting that back internally to external stakeholders like ombudsmen, or in particular, sometimes external stakeholders could be calling in, like the EPA, going, what's happened to this infrastructure? So they were the 2 main areas. So what Why and how did Fabric help in that? Well, if I go to the internal asset management side of thing, having a unified data source was critical for that internal asset operation. Unifying all these disparate data sources that come from things like SCADA systems, IoT centers, and even customer databases, looking at where is these assets built, how they're being operated, and are we actually driving the efficiencies around predictive maintenance and operational efficiencies? And doing it in Fabric also allowed them to look at some of the, look, it's critical infrastructure. How do they close some of the security gaps around that and make sure that they couple it with the purview that delivered all that insight and info up to a visualization dashboard, where they also took it through as they plugged in AI as another widget for to tell them, what's this information that I'm looking at? Tell me. What are key points I need to understand? But it also allowed them to ask questions in that operational element around, when was the last service check done? What was the last cost of that service check? So they could allow the financial management of that asset in a more concise way. So that was that, in using having that disparate data system brought together in a secure manner, pushing it up to that visual, gave them a lot of power around what is happening with my asset and what's the financial risk, not only now, but in the future, but then what's the value of that to us as an organization. That was question one. The question two was when you've got customers and there's a service disruption. I've got complaint handling processes, and more importantly, how do I report that back to the regulators that potentially will be coming in and asking questions? So if you have a customer service agent, they've probably got about 52 key things they need to cover off. Those data sets from customer information and service disruptions of what's happening in that asset, with AI, allowed them to get efficiencies around bringing all that together, not only to answer and handle the customer complaint, but do the post-reporting requirements. I'll also talk, they're going to the next step, and I'm laughing because the way they talked about their SCADA system, about being dumb data, I kind of went, well, I don't think it's dumb, but that was their word, saying it was dumb data. They're using Fabric to build that up into a digital twin. So they're getting a digital representation of that asset, and that those multi-layers of different data sources is creating a really valuable data set for them to make predictive information into the future. So that's just, look, there was three things there, but Fabric unifying those data sources, providing security around that, and plugging into innovation. That's where they used Fabric.
Thank you. And I like, we haven't talked about digital twin on this call. Maybe we need to organize another webinar to talk about this more, but it's easy to see how you can couple that with ESRI and ArcGIS on Fabric as well, to maybe talk about leak detection and just how to manage a critical infrastructure better. Thank you so much for that. Peter, back to you. So moving from ESRI to TechOne. So InterWest is already consuming some TechOne data into Fabric. Can you talk more about which modules you've started within TechOne, and what were the biggest challenges, and how you've overcome them? And I think everyone on this call is probably laughing when I ask about the biggest challenges with TechOne, because we all know that it's a bit hard to integrate sometimes.
Yeah. Okay. So we took the disconnected method, as Kadu was showing me earlier. So we do basically an export out of TechOne, drop it into a secure place, and then connect that data source to Fabric. We started with, as the general manager asked us to, with HR data, so number of employees, demographics around those employees, lead balances, training, the standard sort of stuff that GMs are interested in. So we took the HR data, we've taken customer service data, so as people log calls, as they, the CRM, so what's coming out of that. Work health and safety, so how are we doing in that space? They're sort of the main areas. We're working with the finance guys to get some financial data out, but that's probably one of the hurdles we're facing at the moment. Is getting access to the right data when we need it. And the second part, which nobody will be surprised about, is data quality. So stuff coming out of TechOne and their data model, then how do we remodel it to make it work? So there's data quality issues in terms of duplicates, there's gaps, there's misalignments. So we're working, a lot of the work we've done in Fabric and with the business units is to reiterate and reiterate, how do we get it cleaner and cleaner? We're not going for perfect because we'll never make perfect, but we will look at 80 to 90% good, and then we'll run with that. And that's sort of the process we've been going through the last couple of weeks, months, is to build that confidence back into the data and understand where those issues are. But it's always around data quality. It's always around engagement with people and getting the time with the business to sit down and work through it. And part of that governance piece that Sri was talking about is getting the business units to own the quality issues. Like, we can't solve those issues. We have to work with them. We can give the tools and suggest ways of doing it, but we can't change the values of the numbers unless they tell us to. So, yeah, I've also done procurement stuff, and there's a couple others, but yeah, the normal corporate service type functions.
Yeah, and thank you. And we mentioned before that budget is one of the main challenges for councils in general. And one of the ways that I'm seeing my customers try to minimize the impact on the budget is to deliver solutions internally by themselves. You've decided to obviously use Agile Insights to deliver Fabric.
Yep.
How was your experience, and what value do you think working with a partner has brought to this project versus if you had delivered it internally?
So the reasons we went external was probably two main reasons. One is to deliver when the GM wanted to see stuff, so time to deliver. Internal people are really, really good. They know what they're doing, but they don't. There's always got 2 or 3 other things going on at the same time. So you need someone who can dedicate themselves to that. The second piece was the upskilling of the technical staff. Fabric's great, but it's not an easy beast to manage initially. So you need to understand what you're doing. And the easiest way for us to get that understanding was get people who've used it before to come in and, as Sri said, in a partnership model, work with us, step us through the process, make sure we get to the next level and we understand it. Ultimately, we have to operate it and we have to run it, so we need to know it inside out. And if we didn't have a vendor come in and do the work, it's probably, at 6, 12, 8 months. I don't know, there's an indefinite amount of time to get to the same point. So speed to deliver and upskilling your staff were the two main drivers.
Okay, thank you. I've got other questions, but I want to prioritize the questions from the chat. So we have a question around what TechOne module did you use to export data? ETL, reports, or web services? And I think Sushan had a similar question, which is, would you consider utilizing the TechOne API for data extraction?
We would love to, but we couldn't rely on it 100%. So we've just done an ETL process to get it out, and we probably already had them built, to be honest. So we just reused what we had, but we could potentially use APIs in the future. But it was a time constraint, and we already had them, so let's reuse them. Okay.
And so you're talking about the future. I know that you focus on one module for now for TechOne, the HR module. What's next for West Council around data and AI and Fabric integration?
So probably for us, it's consolidating what we've got out of TechOne, smoothing that process, which we're doing. But it's bringing in those third-party systems into Fabric, whether it's our booking system or our parking officers or whoever it might be. That concept of a data lake that brings lots of different data sources together into one place, that's where we're going to get to. ESRI's obviously got a GIS team who use ESRI, so that ESRI integration is going to be a big one. but it's bringing those third-party data sources in, working with more business units across council, get them into the process. We've got to finish off what we're doing today in terms of the GM dashboards and make sure they're right and polished and ready for distribution. It's working across the teams that we haven't met already, but also those third-party vendors.
Yeah, okay. Thank you. We only have 5 minutes left, and I want to make sure we have time for a wrap up after this panel. So just one last question in one sentence or less for each panelist. If you had to give one piece of advice to councils who are starting their journey right now with Fabric, what would it be? Only a few words.
Okay, I can go first. I think always start small and design for scale. That's what would be my advice.
Amazing.
I hope that was short enough. I can make it longer than you want. Yeah, there's a lot more things you need to consider.
I'll go next, so Peter has the final word. Okay, Pete. From my perspective, start. Don't paralyze yourself. But one of the challenges is just we're unifying data, so don't deviate too far from best practices, because then you'll get that data chaos issue. So start, but follow best practice guidelines to ensure you don't create complication for yourselves.
Yeah.
Amazing. Peter?
I'll go ditto, but also bring the businesses on with you, because it's ultimately them that own it. So they need to be on the journey. You can't do it for them.
Okay, great. So start small, build for scale, follow best practices, and bring your stakeholders in the business and on the journey.
If it's okay, Shali, I'll just add one more thing as well. Always, whenever we are going onto the technology and getting a new technology onboarded, with the IT budget being so small, there is always a constraint. And if you're having issues with that, then obviously many of the councils don't know that there's lots of funding program inside Microsoft to help you prove the value to your business. So either reach out to us or back to the Microsoft people who who are working with you. And there we will find out a way to help you prove the value such that you can go from there to your production environment.
Thank you so much. So we just have, I think, 2 more slides to show just to close this up. Kadu, if you want to share your screen again.
While doing that, I might just say the chat message I put in there, don't forget security.
Governance, absolutely, governance.
Amazing. Thank you.
I believe you're talking about this one, Shirley.
Yes. Okay, great. So one of the main questions or requests that I'm getting is, can we please get a community going where we can all exchange best practices, use cases, ask questions together between local councils across Australia? And as Microsoft, I think it would be silly not to create a Teams chat to allow you to do this together. So if you would like to be invited to participate into this community that we're creating, where you can all share between each other and connect, please use this link that we're also going to post in the chat, and we're also going to send by email, where you can register your interest to be added to that Teams chat, which is completely open and to give you that opportunity. I hope that you've learned something today. We will send the recording, the PowerPoint, the contact details from ESRI, from Agile, from ourselves, and we will look forward to working with you as the year goes on as well. Thank you so much, everyone. Thanks again, Kadu, Paul, Jin, Simon, Shreet, Peter, and everyone on the call today. Thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.